Alright, welcome to Tribulation, day 151, and the world continues to spiral downwards into chaos. You know, right now, of course, across the globe, most of the unrest is kind of based on economics, and we're still facing an imminent global meltdown with the banks in the EU failing. And of course, here in America, we have the same situation facing us. President Obama's jobs bill got shot down. We got the debt bill, otherwise known as the Disarm America bill, that's going to go off in November. And the super committee, which is just a bunch of super idiots, cannot come to any kind of an agreement on how to actually cut anything from our government's budget. So that was all smoke and mirrors and a big sham. So, basically, the global collapse is coming. But what I want to focus on this morning is kind of like foreign affairs. And, we have some really, really troubling events developing. In the Middle East, nothing looks good. Nothing. We still have Muammar Gaddafi running around and fighting. And the biggest troubling event is Syria. President Assad, as I've been saying all summer long, the world is just standing there watching him and his power grow. And, the death toll so far is about 3,000 people that he's killed. And, basically there's a weird dynamic in his power base, because he belongs to a minority sect of Muslims, the Awalakis, and also the Christians are supporting him. And the reason they're supporting him is out of fear that the greater Sunni population will, if they were to come to power, they would then persecute and destroy the Christians. So the Christians are basically making a deal with the devil to try and save their hides. But the bottom line is it's going to backfire, because Assad is nothing more than a New Age Hitler. And making a pact with him or siding with him is surely a mistake. And I just think Assad now is emerging as the new strongman of the Middle East, solidifying his power base, and kind of brazenly warning the US, NATO, the UN, saying, if you even dare attempt anything, I will destroy Israel, and I will take action. So guess what? The rest of the free world seems to be terrified of this guy. And other than these symbolic sanctions that don't do a darn thing, doesn't prevent anybody from being killed, his power base is growing. It's basically just like watching Hitler come to power. And of course, yesterday the news broke of the Iranians trying to assassinate the Saudi ambassador, and also to blow up the Israeli embassy and the Saudi embassy here in America, in Washington, D.C. So, basically what you got is the Middle East, they view America and they view our president as completely weak and ineffective and basically just a bumbling boob. And Obama pretty much is. His plan is to withdraw all troops and all American influence in the Middle East. So, it's basically, it's like there's this huge cancer growing in the Middle East, and what is if you got a patient with cancer, you got to attack it. You got to fight the cancer and get rid of it, because if you just sit back and do nothing, it'll grow and eventually consume the person that it is infecting. And that's kind of what's going on in the Middle East. Is there's this mirage. Our president even tried to sell us on it, which is like, oh, look at the lovely Arab Spring, democracy breaking out. There's no democracy breaking out anywhere. There are people out there saying freedom, but you know what? They're just pawns, puppets that are going to be crushed by the tyrannical forces that actually control and that have the real power in the Middle East. And likewise in Egypt, elections are coming up at the end of the month, and the Muslim Brotherhood, looks like they're going to, take power in Egypt and probably Tunsnia and even Libya, and that doesn't bode well. Already there's, just huge amounts of violence breaking out as Christians, they tried to do a peaceful protest and basically they got crushed. So put it all together, what do we got? We've got an Islamic empire solidifying itself in the Middle East. The rising of the beast. And what you'll see is that every one of these countries has some form of tyrannical government, whether it's a strongman or a religious theocracy that, they all basically enforce. The only freedom over there is strict adherence to Sharia law. And if you're not a Muslim, if you're Christian or Jewish, you're just shit out of luck. But the other common thread is you'll see that all these countries over there, Iran, Egypt, Syria, Palestine, they all have strong ties with Russia and China and North Korea. And they're getting weapons, they're getting their nuclear power plants built, and also their weapons development. Make no mistake about it. They're all bringing nuclear warheads online. And, in Russia with Vladimir Putin poised to come back into power, none of those guys are our friends. Russia's not our friend. China's not our friend. Right now we have ongoing cyber warfare, attacks being launched on America every day. And it was just in the news the other day that someone, and I'm going to bet you that it is China, basically sent a virus into our Predator drone program, and they now know everything. And I'm going to tell you, they can probably take control of our Predator drone program. So don't be surprised, if somewhere in the near future we get a report of a U.S. Predator drone dropping a missile on either our own citizens or on Israel, but it'll be that China or someone took control of the drone. And, to me, I've never supported Obama's policy of bombing people and assassinating them in the air with Predator drone missiles, because it totally circumvents the whole process of due process and human rights, and inevitably, innocent civilian casualties are killed as we kill supposed terrorist leaders. And of course, under Obama's program, we never see any evidence of the actual people that were killed. We're just told that they were killed and that our government signed papers saying, hey, that's it for them. And, what it's doing is it's creating a new dynamic across the Middle East of just extreme hatred towards America, not only for being the West, but also being hypocrites, because we're supposed to protect human rights, and yet we drop missiles from the sky on people. So you know what? It's dark days, man. There's this new dark axis of evil developing in the Middle East, and our president's current policy of withdrawing all of our troops, the legislation, the Disarm America bill, otherwise known as the debt legislation that we passed this summer, is going to cut $500 billion from our Defense Department. And all that's doing is the void that's going to be created by the U.S. saying we're no longer the world police. And Obama, they're trying to tell us, oh, everything's all hunky-dory, in the Middle East, they're fighting for democracy. No, that's all a big lie. And you know what? This latest assassination attempt or plot by the Iranians is confirmation that they're not our friends and they're not a party that we can negotiate with. So, all I can say is I'm looking at it, but, I think it's sinister forces are aligning, and, if I had to put a window on it, we're probably, anywhere from about 3 months to a year of just, a whole new world dynamic, a new world order, where there's this Islamic caliphate, as far as how they structure and what the relationship is of, any particular country to another, who knows? But I'll tell you this much: they are working together, and they are united in their hatred for America, and they're united in their view that our president is weak. So, unfortunately, I don't see anything stopping this, because Obama's not going to do anything, other than him dropping a Predator drone missile. And you know what? You can't solve what's going on in the Middle East by dropping a Predator drone missile. Unless you're going to drop one on Assad, unless you're going to drop one on the Ayatollah Khomeini and on Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, and unless you're going to drop one on the Muslim Brotherhood, which is basically impossible, and we're not going to do any of that. So, basically, stay tuned, because just like in World War II, the world just sat there and watched as Hitler rose to power, and it wasn't until it was too late when Hitler, all of a sudden started taking over countries and saying, you know what, I might as well take over the whole world. And that's basically what's coming, is Islam basically trying to take over the whole world, and it doesn't bode well for freedom-loving people and or Christians, because I see Christian persecution coming. It's already happening. It's happening in Egypt. It's happening in Iran. And you know what? President Assad in Syria, he's got the backing of the Christians, but they're fools for doing that. They're making a deal with the devil, and it's only a matter of time before he turns the tables on them. And once again, I feel sorry for Israel, because now they're just surrounded by enemies on all sides, and the Palestinian thing, I guarantee you, is going to come to a head in the next month or so, because things are in motion, whether it's signs in the heavens, one way or another. All these Islamic countries feel their time is now to strike. So, we're not talking about years into the future. We're talking days and weeks. As our president told us when he came out and told us, oh, there's no war in Libya, and he said, oh, this will all be over in a matter of days, weeks, tops. And now we're months down the road with no end in sight. Well, you know what? What's coming out of the Middle East, the beast, it's not years away. It's days and weeks away. So, you know what? The tribulation continues. I'm going to think positive. In the meantime, we still got to find ways to, unify and fight back. Occupy Wall Street, that's a form of it, but it's kind of disorientated, and I hate to say it, it's being co-opted by evil forces as well. All right, get your tribulation on. God bless everybody out there. Peace.